It's crossed out is done.
It's crossed out on focus?
No, it's crossed out there.
Oh.
All right, so really quickly, we got to go fast through this beginning stuff because I want to make sure we have time for you to practice. Last class only had like 10 or 15 minutes. That was not the plan. The plan was to have at least 30 minutes. What is perimeter? Perimeter, ma'am. So I'll say that a few different ways, whichever one sticks with you, that's the one you use.
Actually, they make sense.
Raise your hand if you know that I'm a fantastic artist.
Hell no.
Every hand in the room should be up.
Oh no, bro.
Oh, please.
My sister.
Oh, because I'm a fantastic artist, I'm going to give you a visual. You're right. That is me. So if I were standing on the corner of that shape, and if I walk all the way around that shape,
Like a GBL player. You look like a YBL player.
the distance that I walk would be the perimeter. So that's one way I do it. The other way to do it is just think, well, I just take the length of all the sides and add them up. That's the normal definition. In this specific case, what shape is that?
Rectangle.
Rectangle. What's true about rectangles?
Yeah.
And
Two sides are equal.
two sides are congruent, equal, they're the same length. So there's actually a formula for the area of a rectangle. I'm sorry, for the perimeter of a rectangle. So perimeter, and this is again only a rectangle. Perimeter of a, this means rectangle. We say 2, because again, these two are the same length, right? So it's 2 times the length plus these are the width, and they're the same. 2 times the width, and then that would equal the perimeter. Only for a rectangle, because not every shape has sides that are equal. Two sets of sides really that are equal. So any 3 of those will work, whatever you want to use. I don't believe you get those.
Is that a
formula? L.
L.
Cursive L.
Times.
It's basically the same thing as that length. Well, what? So now let's move to the next one.
Well, we
What's
got-
formula for area?
Late time.
Late time.
Length times the width. So again, for a rectangle, so area of a rectangle
We all gotta have. Everybody acts like
is
that.
length times width. All right, you guys need to bring it up. Trying to hopefully let you settle in, but you're not. I'll settle you in. So area is again only for a rectangle, length times width. Now let's just talk about what area is. So what's area for any shape? What is area?
Who knows?
Area?
A lot of people.
Oh. I know area.
You already answered one. Wait, earbuds out.
Area.
Ava, what's area?
I can.
What's area? If perimeter is the length of all the sides, the length of the outside, what's area? The inside. See how I did that?
Oh, stupid.
Area covers.
I swear to God, this class gonna be brain damage.
Oh, bro.
And chemistry.
The chemistry actually makes.
Maybe it's all the hits that give you brain damage.
Chemistry might help.
No, this class gotta be anything other than this class.
All A's and B's.
Which is funny because you were pretty good at math when I taught you 2 years ago. So what happened?
That's algebra. Dang.
This uses a lot of algebra also.
Oh, this is just BS and shapes.
It's too much letters and stuff.
All right, so area, again, area is the space inside. So perimeter is the length of all the sides added up. Area is the space inside. So I'm going to give you a visual. I mean, that's visual. I'm going to give you a different visual for area. Who likes Hershey's chocolate?
No chocolate.
You know how the bigger candy bars come in little blocks,
Yeah.
right? The blocks are the area. The number of blocks is the area, just like the number of squares
In a Hershey bar.
I'm gonna go over it. So last.
I knew it, someone knows here.
No.
I was talking, I wasn't even talking.
Dude, no, I'm talking about, and you need to take your earbud out.
Bro, it's not even connected.
Doesn't matter. Well, then take it out. Why is it in there? It's not connected.
Oh,
Yep, he's here.
ew.
I actually don't know.
You can ask it.
I mean, I know what it says. I don't know what it is. All right, so shh. Here, shh. 6, 3. Was hoping you'd settle in now.
I'm settled in.
All right, so here's what area means. If that's a gigantic Hershey's bar, how many squares of Hershey's chocolate do I have going up and down?
4.
How many squares do I have going left and right? That may take a second. Somebody already counted up.
7.
Area is just how many squares I have total. If I have 13 columns and I have 4 in each column, I could say 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, 13 times. What's a faster way to do that? 13 times 4, right?
I don't get it.
So that's where the length times width formula comes from. We just have 13, in this case, 13 columns of the same number of blocks. We have 13 times. We're just multiplying the two together.
Now that's simple. Then I can turn to some hard.
Well, you do have to remember it. Oh, it is get hard.
I told you. See?
But I will say there are some, although they probably won't be this easy, I guess. Still the same concepts.
I think people.
So that's how you can memorize that formula. We already gave you a few ways to memorize the perimeter formula. You're going to be doing problems today with perimeter and area.
Did you help me with that?
Well, we didn't. Well, we kind of.
I got
For me,
I told my.
All right. Miss B? All right. Good answer.
Hell no.
Teachers.
Sophomore, junior, senior. That's just part of
So that was super easy. Here, that was super easy, right?
it.
Guess what's gonna happen?
It's gonna turn hard. It's gonna turn hard. Everybody goes.
Well, that could happen too. I don't think any of them. I don't think any of the problems do that.
Think of 11 that's.
let's go down fast.
So when we're dealing with a coordinate plane, they don't do variables as often. They just make you figure stuff out from the coordinate plane because you have numbers on it, right? So there's not as often variables. But what I want you to do the perimeter of that.
What the? What?
No, just try to do it from that. You're gonna have plenty of practice.
That's for area, bro.
What, you wanna find the what?
Not necessarily. Just you gotta still.
What do you wanna?
Just
find?
wait. It's not convenient.
What you want me to find? That's the major.
Perimeter, I said.
Perimeter. Alright, send that to bottom.
Which?
I'm gonna even give you a hint.
Me in. Boom, boom.
It's 17. Up there slow. Exactly, that's counted already.
Hey, bro.
That's 9.
Look at that.
Hey,
Oh, you
There's
count?
your hint. But there's one problem. We can't do that with the third side. Can't count. No way to count because it's not going straight up and down, not going left or right. Well, it's not area, I want perimeter.
Right?
Area, first of all, we haven't said the area formula for triangle. What is the area? You need to know that. What's the area formula for triangle?
Listen up. Length side.
That's a rectangle.
Length volume.
Length times.
The what?
Bro, he's afraid to my brain.
No way to
bro.
guess. You're not gonna be able to guess.
Where he
Area
get
for
15?
I mean, even logically figure it out. There's no way.
Where did he get 15 from?
Believe me. See that, I mean, if you look at it, I hope you know that's not 15.
No,
If one's 6 and one's 9, that last one can't be 15. No way it's that much bigger than 9. Just visually, there's the proportions, there's no way it can be that much bigger. You'd 15, you'd be adding this side onto this side. There's no way it's that long. You did this in pre-algebra. Go back, way back.
What's the base?
Back into time. Base would be the 6, but again, we're not doing. So the area, you need to write this down because it is not on your formula sheet, I'm almost positive. The area of a triangle formula is 1/2 the base times the height, which the base and the height are really just kind of like the length or width.
What?
Well, I'm about to show you why that's the case.
27, bro.
There's a rectangle, right? What's the formula for the area of a rectangle?
Length and width.
Just length times width. If I take a rectangle though, and I divide it from end to end, what did I just make? What did I make? I made 2. And they are exactly the same size. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the length times the width, which is the rectangle, and dividing it in 2. So that's multiplying by 1/2, is dividing in 2. That will give me the area of just one of the triangles.
Dang,
So it's,
one.
Right down, yeah.
so we'll get to area in a minute. I'll do it again.
I'm locked in for the game.
27.
Right down.
So we'll do it when we do area all right. So here's the deal. Again, you have got to understand, number one, you cannot count when a line is diagonal. It's not possible. There's no, oh, I can figure it. No, it's not possible. Nobody can do it. I don't think you can. What did we do last class? At the end, last thing. Perimeter, you're doing perimeter on this one. So we need to know how long that side is. And then we just add all 3 of them together. What was the last thing we did last class?
Oh, what you called? Not
30.
This is, I laugh at this kind of stuff right here.
Oh, it was,
30.
oh, I remember like.
I like that math in general.
Ah.
Oh.
Why? Right. If I get it right,
I don't remember what it's called.
if I get it right.
Finding the.
Yeah. Oh.
Then I dirty.
It's up there right now.
Yeah.
Literally up on the board.
I know, but I can't remember.
Literally.
What's up on the board? I was thinking X, Y.
But that's just 27.
There's another hint.
Right there.
Finding out the length.
Now the dots, bro.
We did, you can call it 2 things. We did, I called it, I think then, what is the distance between the 2 points? Or what is the length of that line segment? It's length. So we use that formula. So somehow you gotta figure out the length of this by using the distance or length formula. That will now tell you the length of that side, and then you just add that to the 9 plus 6.
Or you can do the other way.
So
Bro, you confused my brain.
that's area.
That's why I give up.
Perimeter.
I ain't finna be stressed out.
Go straight. Perimeter is the length of all of the side that's. No. I said it like 3 times, dude.
And that's
You gotta
exactly
pay
why
attention.
I don't, that's exactly why I don't stress over it. I'm not gonna be stressed over some math.
It ain't even that hard. It matters. This is what you're gonna do for this quiz. All you do is plug numbers into a formula.
It actually is hard.
Not hard. There's no way, no how you can tell me it's hard. If you put the effort in, every single one of you would learn. You're plugging numbers into
I
a
try to put
formula.
effort in. I just forget it. when it comes to
Plugging
tests.
numbers in, you get the formula. It'll be up on the board. How you gonna forget it? So that's not an excuse. You do the work. This is an easy section. So it'll be its own grade.
I think I do one.
There's nothing difficult about this if you
right.
practice.
Ooh, that's that right there.
We did distance between, that is the formula for the distance
Okay,
between
so where
2
you put
points.
numbers at?
I tell you. But I want you guys to try it first. I'm gonna start working on it in a minute myself, but I want everybody to try it first. I mean, I would, it'll be on the board during the quiz. You don't have to memorize it. That's why it's up on the board right now.
What?
So anytime it's an easy formula problem or section, the whole quiz is really just based on that formula. I mean, that grade for this.
But you could get like that.
Well, let's go to a different.
I'm gonna call it what it is. That's it.
So what is that? 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In contract now. For the last year.
And then final.
You play football?
1, 2, 3, negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Man, you got be smart for that.
Stuff that you not.
No, obviously.
There's the first step.
Hey, you answer.
Hold on. I know. All right, I'm gonna do it right here.
And then you need to know what your next step is, which I'll just do in a second. So if you didn't know what the first step was, I did that. Now, hopefully, if you go back and look at your notes, we did this already.
No, I don't really know.
Was this today you weren't here? Well, it was last class. So you're here.
This how you do it, right?
Is it that?
Yes, good.
Or do you not get her that quick? You know,
No, not here. I mean, it's a formula. That's, you just put constant. It's that. Oh, you didn't write the formula. You wrote-
I thought you asked this. You said that.
I don't know what you did. You did this. You wrote it right there, but. Good point.
Are you scared?
For trap. You going up.
So now, you need to change these. You don't write comma. Comma wasn't even formula.
It's right.
Then you gotta do math. You're not done. Just put it right out. It's working unlike some people.
Yeah, look at it.
Same place they are every single day in my class. We are more than halfway done, by the way, this quarter.
Three.
I think next week is 6 weeks, so that'll be 6, 7, 8, 9, so like 4 weeks maybe after this.
yes.
I'll take-
It'll get hard.
I'll take my.
Yes.
Well, you gotta take into account that. So these numbers are. Wait.
Wait a minute. What were you saying about that?
Look. 3 minus 2 minus. Right there now.
Oh, you're not using the correct value. It's X and X. You get an X and a Y. Not an X and a Y. It's the X and the X.
So Thursday, yes, Asher.
Minus 3.
There you go. That's the correct one.
Negative 6. Wait. Be quiet before y'all start on answers, bro.
You guys can compare with each other. I'm gonna kind of do the next step.
I can never.
You'll be struggling that long.
You be struggling too. You just like me.
I've been struggling.
No, see, he would rather take the easy route and not do anything.
You been staying here.
Which is a shame, because he was actually pretty good at math. So.
3 is 2. Is this right now?
I'm gonna do the next step in a second. Just keep going. And you can kind of come back. And, so I just did. This would have really been. Dude, you had it. You had it. Like this would be the next step that I would normally do. You don't have to do it,
It's not that serious.
but that's what I would normally do. Just
Billy,
keep
man,
everything
bro,
straight.
definitely think that serious, bro. I'm aging on
Uh,
this battle. That's crazy,
Oh,
bro.
wait. There's gotta be no age. Billy Bowers, what that mean?
Bro,
That mean?
you wanna keep go back up real quick?
You trying to say age might be smarter than that? Third?
Oh.
I'm not trying to say age.
That's it, bro. Come on, bro. I'll put you before.
Bro, you tight though.
Wait.
Get a word down.
Mr. Gill,
Got it.
Yep.
why you put 2 over the Y's?
Because I'm just. You're right. One of them is a 1. Good. Good catch.
I knew I was missing.
Wait a minute. 5.
So that would have been a Y1 if you were copying what I did. That was wrong.
Bro, come on, bro. Chill.
Bro,
I'm about to do it.
you don't even know. I already got the issue down. I already got it.
And then we would do
I was
Y2.
using to the second photo. Watch out. Bro.
Wait, we gotta do two.
You gotta have a calculator. Well, I mean, you don't have to have it. You will need a calculator eventually, but. So that would have been the next step.
Hold on, I got that right there. See, I
No, that one.
did that right there.
Do it, film check.
Oh, wait.
But, well, how you get the two?
Yeah, I think I did.
What is two?
Then you press that.
What is it? What is the second?
The square.
Or the
That's
square.
square.
Oh, the square?
Yeah.
You square something times it by 2?
No,
No, it's on the
that would
calculator.
be times 2.
So which angle?
What you do? What's square mean?
What square do?
Let me see. It's like this. It sound like this. Yeah.
What's square?
What's it do?
What does square do?
Oh, no. Square.
What is
Okay,
square?
okay. Like right here, 5. It's 5 times 7.
What does squared mean? The number times
I just said that.
No.
5 times 7.
2 times?
6 times 6.
It's 36.
9 times
36. Then it's 81.
That's why you can't estimate, because there's no, it'll always be a decimal. Well, virtually.
I got it before
I
you.
literally answered it. Oh no. I gotta wait. Hey, me, I'm doing math.
Oh, there you go. That's the right answer.
Look,
I already did that.
you got two. I
Not
did.
putting it.
Okay, then. Decent.
I got these little hyped up for a reason. All in.
One.
Oh. That's
She
what
needs
they
one
do.
anyway, so.
If they do me trying to raise them back class.
Yeah.
All right, so.
You look at your eye. You walk past where I am? Oh, okay. I told you that. You listen.
Oh, yes.
All right, so now this is you focus. I'm about to tell you stuff you need to know. All right, first of all, when you do a problem like this, always think about what makes sense for the answer. If I know these two sides and I'm trying to figure out that third side, I mean, visually, I told you can't rely on figures, but if it's on a coordinate plane, they can't really fake it. I mean, they've got grid lines and numbers. They can't fake it and exaggerate it and make it not at least pretty close to realistic. So with that in mind, this third side, it's actually the hypotenuse, if you remember what that is for a right triangle. The right angle is in here, which means the side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. It's the longest side, so it will be longer than 9, but it's not going to be tremendously longer than 9. I mean, visually, maybe 10, 11-ish, 12-ish at the most, probably, something like that. So you should know my answer is going to be in that range of 10 to 12-ish, probably. So is 117 right then?
Yeah, no. Oh,
How in the
square root
world
to the
would
center.
117 be right?
What's wrong with 117?
I will tell you right now, maybe it's not as high as this, but it's high. 20% of kids will put 117 and say that's the right answer,
I'll put 117.
even though there's no way that makes sense. The last step
where's the, yeah, it's 10.8.
is you got to do that.
What's that? What does that mean?
That
That's
sounds
square
right.
root.
Square root.
Okay.
Square
That's
root.
square root.
Square root.
Like this, look.
So if you take the square root, all of the other stuff is correct. That is the length of that.
Look, that's 10.8. Negative 3.
Yeah, there you go. I got it before you, and I didn't even do it.
Oh.
Got it from the This twins.
Hey, do you want? Hey, you want a cookie? Cause like you want a cookie?
How many cookies? I don't like cookies.
Why?
All right.
Cookies, bro. Cookies the
I
best.
don't like cake cookies. Like I don't like that kind of.
Yeah, you know about your
like,
life thing.
like brownies if they're really.
Yeah, you love frosted fruit.
All right. So
You can see frosted flakes.
That fruit that was served there too.
So really quickly, now I'm going to tell you another way to do this. I think is the easier way to do it. A lot of people love the formula. They just like, and you do get that, so I can understand. They just like putting the X coordinates and Y coordinates, labeling them. They like that process. I don't do it that way. A lot of my students wind up not doing it that way. When I did that whole process, what did I kind of ultimately get to? What numbers did I square? 6 and 9, right?
Yeah.
Well, wasn't that just the two sides of the triangle?
Yes.
So what you can do, does anybody know why that works? Why did I get 6 and 9?
No.
What kind of triangle is it?
Right.
Right triangle.
Right triangle, right?
I'm smart on that one.
So again, going back to pre-algebra,
They over there clowning whoever just said that.
Bro, yeah, bro.
that was a pre-algebra geometry thing. All of this is gonna come back in multiple lessons. If you have a right triangle, the sides have a relationship to each other. That's the a squared plus b squared equals c squared thing you learned a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
So if I know two of the sides, so I knew one side was 6, one side was 9, I can say a squared, so 6 squared, plus b squared, so 9 squared, and then equals c squared, which this would be c squared, and then I took the square root of it to get c. So we would say 6 is side A, 9 is side B, and we solved for sides. I do it that way.
Wait a minute. So
If you
after,
want to plug in X, Y coordinates, label them, do the formula.
I have a question. After you do that, right? And you just do A, B, and
You don't need to. They're the same thing.
so
I mean, we got,
okay.
because we did the same thing, right? When we labeled them and plugged them in, we just did more steps. We could have started right here, because I already knew 6 and 9.
What, bro?
So we did all that for no reason, bro.
Right triangle. This side was 6, right? We counted it. This side was 9. We counted it.
I ain't doing this.
So in a right triangle, a squared plus b squared is c squared. I could have gone straight to this if I understood that it was a right triangle.
I'm gonna do what I
Again,
do.
I don't care how you do it.
No, ain't gonna
I
hop on.
don't care at all.
No.
That's only.
If you don't understand it, then just go to the formula.
Again,
You don't get yourself.
well, I got some students that are,
Wait, so what's it?
they just like the process of going through and doing
Yeah.
this.
Wait, is it always like that? Is it always like that?
We're about to do another one and you'll do this one
Right.
on
Are
your
the
own.
formulas gonna be on the screen, or do we have to memorize them all? But like, for like area for rectangle is.
I'll find out which ones you get. It's in your book. There's a page in the back that has it. So I'll print out copies and give them to you so you know which formulas you'll have and won't have, and I'll tell you. I don't remember, right? I'm pretty sure you don't get the triangle, the area of a triangle formula. That one I'm almost positive you don't get. The area
Isn't that what we
triangle.
just did?
Well, we did perimeter of a triangle, not area. Area would be where we say 1/2 times the base times the height.
Right.
But you will have one of those when you do your practice problems.
So like on your
Uh,
test, right? Is it gonna say it like simple? Like, is it gonna say it like find perimeter?
Yeah, it'll have to tell you which one you're finding. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I want you to find the perimeter of that.
Question. When we're doing perimeter, right? Do we use that method every time?
Alright, chill.
Or is it
What method?
Are we not even?
the one on the board of it? The x2 minus.
Yeah, you only need to do it if you have a diagonal line. If you had, like, when we did the bell work like this. If the lines aren't diagonal, I can just count. How long is the top side?
But you can't do that one because it's side.
Exactly, because now I can't just count. I have to say, what is the distance from this point to that point? What is the distance from that point?
Are we doing perimeter again?
So yeah, do perimeter now.
So
Yep. I'll help you out. I'll go ahead and just tell you what these are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is 5, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm giving you some help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, 7, 0. You really don't need, oh no, you do need one. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, -1. So if I tell you, which I will tell you, that is a rectangle. We don't really need so this point, by the way, is here.
Wait, well, you got, whoa. You went from 2 to 3 real fast.
Yeah.
I don't really need the fourth one because I only have to solve for the length of this and the length of that. Because these are the same, right? Whatever this one is, that one is. Whatever this one is, that one is. So you don't have to do it 4 times. I'll give you a hint in a minute. Actually, I'll give you the hint now. If you want to do it that a squared, b squared, c squared way, you can. You just have to say, okay, if this is going to be the side I'm solving for, I need to create a right triangle so I can count the length of the sides. So that is a right triangle. So now I could just count the length of the sides.
That way with the.
Well, you gotta do it, no, you're doing it twice.
Oh.
Yeah, you do it once with these two to figure out the length of that, and then once with those two to figure out the length of that.
Oh,
So
You're not going to do it all at
Wait,
one
wait,
time.
wait, so fine, if I do it the right triangle, it's still the right answer, then.
Yeah, you'll get, because again, I mean, I'll just show you. How long is that left side?
Four.
It's five.
How?
It's fine, it's fine.
Oh, yeah, so way back.
Yeah, it's just 1,
Oh,
2, 3,
yeah.
4, 5.
Way back here.
So if I were to say that is the y values, 4 subtract -1, I get 5. You're gonna get the same number. I just,
I can't see people, you don't talk about.
let me zoom in.
Where that calculator?
Let
Let me get it.
Hopefully this was. Yeah, there you go. That still fits in there. So here, let me get rid of this because that was just to show Nick something real quick.
Oops. Where this profile calculator?
There. So now this is 5, right? This is based on the distance from here to here, right? That's how I got the 5.
And the other way is.
Well, that's the same thing as my y value of 4. That's 4 on the y-axis, down to -1 on the y-axis. So 4, so if I use that, see where it says y2 subtract y1? I would say 4 would be the y2, subtract -1 would be the y1, and I'd get 5. I get the same exact number. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, you can get the same answer. It's just a matter of which one you prefer. So again, you're doing perimeter for that.
10.
Look, we did what he said last time. 5 squared and 10 squared.
Yep.
Do that shit. Yeah.
10 times 10 is 100.
Look, do no calculator. I mean, calculator.
I'm done.
You already close right here. It's.
Bro, why you, bro?
Don't do that shit here.
I said,
You just tell me this.
If you have questions, I'll answer during this.
Is this right?
You be saying blurred out answer, and then, bro, it's no,
fresh.
it's no point of me solving nothing, bro. Bro, there's no point, bro.
10, not that one.
That's what he
That's, subtract, do that, you do that in calculator? Yeah. Calculator.
That's what it came. You got the
We did
calculator.
it wrong. We did it wrong. Let me show you. How you do it? Maybe, right, do it.
You only put a negative if the number is negative. Well, let me make sure. Oh, no, I did the point for you.
No, actually, you want to answer it?
Oh, what?
There you go.
That calculator.
So
Bro.
now you square that. And again, you can never have a negative length.
Don't
You have to never come up with it. It should go away anyway, because you're gonna square it one time anyway.
That's
Just remember, length can't
Not
be negative.
15. Answer 11.
Wait, I just got a net.
Yeah.
I know I was
That
wrong.
was for
No.
Let's get it.
You change that.
Let's go, we got it.
5 squared.
Let's go, we got it.
Let's get it.
No.
Oh, 25.
Yeah. So
Hey, we got-
now add that to the other one.
10 squared. 10 and 5.
So that's 100.
Yeah, and then square.
You're not done yet, because we want perimeter. So what do you have to do now?
Damn.
You
gotta do it
know
with the other
this,
two.
this one is how long? And you just figured out. You
That's
got it.
11.1.
So you know, so if that one's that with this one,
11.1.
same thing, right? So you know 2 of the sides. You gotta figure that side out, just do the same thing, but only now with this and this. Wait, how did you do it? You do it with the, yeah, you did it with that. So you're doing the same exact thing, only you're using these
See the
two
numbers already.
coordinates, and then you know the
You
other.
just add them.
Is that right?
Add that and then square that, right?
Second.
He said, look, you, it's all right.
So, and then what number are you taking that up?
125.
So 125 and then equals.
So we add up.
No, we subtract.
Bro, I'm telling you, this is.
I got it.
So that, so again, you're in the same place he is, that's 2 of the sides, So you
What?
Yo,
11.1 plus 11.1.
That'd be 4 zeros. Minus 4 minus 0 is.
What's 7 times 4?
Huh?
What's 7 times 4?
So,
Wait, good work.
so that's two of the sides. That's two of the
Slow
sides.
down.
Now you do the same exact process, but only
Five
the other
minus 7.
two coordinates for the
5
short.
minus 7.
Because we
Negative-
need all four sides, right?
We have a question.
You have these two, right? You need these two. We need perimeter. We're not doing area. we need perimeter. Actually, we still need it.
We should do. I have a question.
It'll be negative 2 squared.
You good?
2 times negative 2 is.
So you use this and this, right? That only gave you one side.
That only give you one side.
We need this. I mean, it gives you two technically. What?
4 minus 0.
Minus 0.
Okay.
4
Squared.
That's a good.
squared
So you have.
How would you,
Square.
what do you do after I did
plus
this?
16.
Do you do the 5 and the 7?
It's gonna be around 4.
Yeah, those are the x's. So again, same thing. X subtract x. So it doesn't matter which one you make. I would probably do 7 subtract 5.
On the test, would there be ones when it doesn't have any points on it and we gotta try to.
I'll probably go ahead and label it for you and
Okay.
make it quick, just because it's quicker, not because you need to know how to. I will say a bunch of kids put the wrong x in line and they.
Wait, but then negative 2.
Okay, 2 squared is 4.
Oh, it will be negative. Negative. Oh, we can negative.
If it's, because it's squared. It's multiplied by itself.
We good.
You have to find the square.
You know what?
20, which one in between 4 and 5.
If you don't use parentheses, remember distance can't.
How is it not 25?
Yeah,
Let's measure something with a ruler, you don't have the negative number.
Second,
So.
you gotta do the square root.
We're just using 16.
Four. No.
More than negative.
Yeah, 4.5.
No, you just round it to the first digit, unless they tell you to
That's
round
the
it.
first digit.
The first digit is 4.
So this is a negative,
It's just 4.4.
Yeah.
negative 5, and then we square that.
And then.
So you said it's, 20. That means that the
Yeah, so they go out.
the perimeter is 30, but twice, dude. The perimeter is 30.
What's 12?
Huh?
Wait,
The perimeter is 30.
what's this right here? To the second.
Ow.
No, it's 30.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Nah, that's what I'm.
Look, do this one. Wait, 7?
It's 22
I'm gonna put you on.
minus-
Look, 4 minus 0 and 5.
Because you have
Minus
sides that
7.
are 11
Yeah.
1.
And then you can get.
Do 5 minus 7.
Now, it's nothing less.
Which one? The actually. Check this part, check this part.
Wait, I think
But how does that? Yeah, you still have to find the perimeter.
No, you don't take them out of there. Square them, like when you do the subtraction and square. If you square them and you get a negative, so I think the I'm gonna check it myself in a minute. I think the calculator it's technically doing it correct. It's just, you wouldn't think of it as being incorrect. Just for now, take off the negative till I test it
The
out.
perimeter would be 31.
Is that right?
I'm trying to, you check my.
Those are right.
Okay, those are right.
11.1 times 2 is 22.2.
Yes, correct. So now you have all four sides.
It's 31.
And that's, I'm done.
I'm backing up.
I'm supposed to do it to the second.
Oh, perimeter. So what's perimeter? Now you got what you need.
You multiply, look, you multiply
I'm about to open the sides.
times 2.
That's 2
There's
sides.
a bunch of, I just think of adding all the sides up.
Times 2.
Ultimately,
that's
I think 2 times 11
Okay, and
plus
then you multiply 4.4 times 2.
4, and then.
And then you add them together.
What's that?
8.8.
It's.
We just add them together.
No, that area. I drew a little back.
You guys.
You don't want to drew my own self, but then I walk off the room. I can't see that well.
Line.
22.2.
All the length of all the sides added up. Now, so it's like if you build a perimeter around a field, it's how much fence do you need? That's what a perimeter is. How long, depends on it, how long do I need all those?
Read this mug.
It's 31, what?
I'm sorry.
Alright, so just.
Yeah, no, I did it. Is this right? This one right here? And then I just have to.
Hey, hold on.
Boy, this work, I need to get, boy,
Yes,
this
sir.
good on now. When I get back home, boy.
I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm saying about this calculator, but when you come around and I put in the calculator, I get it right.
Play the game.
Wait, which one are you doing the sides?
I'm doing.
It's just positive.
Yeah, sure.
When you're using these. You're somehow bringing this, you're not using this, you already did that one. Yeah. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, this is right.
Yeah.
This for that? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were doing the short side. Yeah, that's right. That's right for this side.
Okay, yeah. Wait.
Okay, so this is for this. So, yeah, so you're not using this anymore.
Okay.
That is, you know,
If you don't get.
this is positive 5,
Okay, and then I.
positive 7, so it's just 7.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's very good. You kind of were remembering that there's a -5 when you did it before, and kind of bringing that back in.
Yeah.
But you gotta be careful, because little mistakes like that are how we mess up. It's not that it's difficult, it's just a long process.
You don't get.
Oh, okay, that's 11.
You don't get serious.
So that's which sides?
And then 4.
That's that side, that's that side.
Long sides and one is short sides.
Just and
What is perimeter? What's the definition of perimeter?
How,
and then the 20.
how long was?
So I know that one and I know that one, right? But don't I know that one and that one? Are they the same? Then add all 4 of them. That's.
But they're all the same size, you have
When
that.
it's an anyone.
You smart, man. He is smart, man.
Got an answer yet?
Good.
You got an answer yet?
I'm about to, nigga.
Don't be a Brian B. No, you can score. Like that, yeah.
You're unranked. And what are you?
Yeah, no, I'd say.
I'm ranked in before I don't talk.
Fuck. You got to start it.
That's all.
Ranked though.
Again, this is the lesson when you put time in anybody.
That.
Follow prosecutor.
Okay, then so bitch ass.
What's your ring? In your punch?
Tackles.
Tackles? How many
We
tackles?
gonna
you
see
got?
right in the season.
20.
Yeah.
20 tackles.
It's a season.
Figure out where.
The highest is 38.
Are you on the defensive player for those county things
Up here.
for the week? No.
That's 38 tackles. You about to have 40 tackles. You get 8 tackles a game. And
How
that's.
much you get?
There's already been a high school. Be high school record.
Who?
There's even you guys North high school record.
Someone at Lake Lab? Yeah.
Hey, sharp face to this.
We're still fucking.
You got people there.
Oh,
They got cap your ass. Just right there. You're like, oh, little gator, baby. Hey, they say you might not go to Gator. They say you might go to Alabama, Miami.
You're
University.
not gonna get no play.
What's the, if you could have said about.
You can play time at Alabama.
You go to Florida.
He said Miami. Miami or Alabama.
He's committed. You can't uncommit.
Yeah.
Yes, you can understand.
Not if they don't let you.
You
You can't uncommit. It just. You've been
committed
committed for years.
No.
And obviously, time to contact, you can't commit to me unless they let you go.
That's signing day. He hasn't signed. He hasn't been a signing day yet.
If you uncommit, it looks like if you uncommit.
Yeah, I know I'm 6 years old.
I know there's gonna do. We gonna look at how they play this shit. They play ass. You not going to them. I already know how you gonna do it. You gonna be like, well, they ass. They ain't going to them.
That's what signing day is. You can't do that, but when you
Ain't
go
Kobe with the FSU.
What did y'all get for the second one? I got 11.
I can't tell you.
11 10 going.
I'm gonna rate.
no, that's one side.
I know. What you get for
That's
the
a
other
lot.
side?
I can't tell them. We gonna rate them out.
We all
That's a little bit.
Like one of 4.4.
Okay, I just had to make sure I got
So
enough.
yeah, I still got.
I'm really sure you don't.
It's pretty good.
I'm really sure this shit.
Four, so now saying
Pretty good.
this, 4,
Junior, I'm going to.
Actually,
But you still got Packers
in
That's what we're for, but it ain't sure.
You multiply 11.
Oh my God, you a stick.
Don't you just add them and then
No, try to watch the things
Yeah,
that.
you multiply 11
Big
times 2 and 4.4 times 2.
Big add.
Yeah.
times it by 2.
They ladder.
Yeah.
Let's wait 1 times 2, then 4.2 times 2.
Except for-
the answers. Open it. Answers.
So she gets that top.
It should be 31.
Sometimes or now.
Oh, what's that? What the fuck?
Oh, I don't, I wouldn't.
That's wearing it.
How you feel? I don't believe you.
Where we function as a space.
My cousin told me, especially if you go to college, you go to college, you're less than that. You say,
Right there.
"Hey, free down for you, hit it."
Honestly, not very
Is it
From words out.
two?
Yes.
Wow.
Like, without it.
What is that?
That little silly.
And I saw that beat to the time that
Now, we need that.
You man, tell it.
Hey, stop, pull it. You want, they are just.
Arrow, just. This.
Watch it.
It's a root to a side. It's how you're two break out the net out.
It's. Number two, then.
Yeah, no, I know. Algebra 2 it is what comes after the sum.
Harder.
I would be. That's the start. Wait till you get the second. Wait till you get the second chord. The other point. Now. It doesn't really matter. Quarter yellow. Yeah, we'll sit there and look at the board.
You need to jump, you credit.
7, 0.
How about that?
You know you were in the jump, credit.
But
Yeah,
you still want
You
to.
need to at least pass algebra 2.
Nigga, like, actually, anytime you trust me, that's probably.
If you want to get grade, you have to at least get algebra 2.
Man, bro, fuck the real test. Put these in on. I ain't got college, my class grade.
That's where we're at.
That's all I give.
Well, that's shit. I'm still going to college. Fucking grades. Shit. People don't live there. Higher. You go to college, man.
But recently.
This fall today. You're not that good.
You realize you can apply for a scholarship, they give you, if you have a 3.5
They
above.
like you take a test to properly go to scholarship.
Yeah, if you're going for shit.
You don't do a whole essay. You might as well go to
But if that's what that is. If you're going into sports, you'll not GD.
exactly.
The size of the 5, like.
You're all key ones. The cheap ones.
So.
I'm playing if you want.
I'll make it easier on your school.
University.
You didn't want to go.
Oh, they can't. They don't have much work.
You can just say JUCO.
That's what you got, you get 2.5.
Yeah,
You go to high school.
You go to Chico.
That.
You say people can get a scholarship. I don't think it's a scholarship.
We're trying to find the length of this side, or what you could have done is you could have used this, but you would have had to have figured out what that point is there. And I didn't give you that. On the quiz, I'll give you all four of them. You could have done that. You just had to use the other.
Caesar.
All right, so if you're still working on it, that's fine, but I got to do one more thing to kind of wrap up the angles from yesterday or 2 days ago. So
My stomach hurts, bro.
Levine.
Oh.
I'm feeling pretty good. Oh, my stomach hurts.
She said so. It's her fault.
all right, so I think we're in pretty good shape on that. You got some problems you are gonna practice.
Oh, man.
But I need to wrap up the angles because we're not quite done with that. There's one more piece I need to do. Hey, Justin.
Got that shit.
This is on your quiz, and I'm not spending a bunch of time on this, so refocus, because you tune out, you're gonna miss it. It's like a 5-minute lesson, but it's on the quiz.
It's probably not flat.
No, it's a 5-minute lesson that I'm gonna do to wrap up.
Okay, now my stomach. hurts.
Maybe 10,
I need food.
but you need to know how to do it, because it's just as important as everything else on there. All right, so we finished with lesson or with angles for the most part, but I wanted to go ahead and I hate it. We did a word problem that you guys freaked out on.
What?
This period didn't think it was that bad.
When?
So
It's hard.
We didn't do
they're
it.
actually not any stronger than you guys. Their average is about the exact same as you guys.
So let me talk about.
So
That's exactly.
no,
what
they're
we call
just
this.
actually every class is about the same except for one, and they're actually quite a bit above the other class. I don't know how.
They
that-
clearly was dumb as hell in our.
Anyway, so you need to know how to do this. It's on the quiz. So I recorded a video for you. So I recorded, I think it says September,
I swear we
what
did
was the
this.
last class? The 12th? I think I said,
Yeah.
September 12th. And I think I said part 2. All I did was record how to do a problem like that. That's the most difficult thing you'll see on the quiz. But it
I
is
think
on-
we already.
Is it difficult? Like,
Well, yeah, but we were lost. I mean, remember, we were.
Oh no, I wasn't. Where's the end? I was.
If you guys are fine with it, but I recorded a video just on that.
that's funny.
So you can watch just that if you want to try to catch up. I'm gonna wrap up the other stuff on angles. We talked about vertical angles a while back when you have an X. Let me get to something that's on that.
What the fluff? Bro, just get off this. You're gonna confuse me. Then I'm gonna do the wrong concept.
Well, it's on there too, so.
I mean, I already know it, but like just me seeing that, I might just do the wrong thing.
Vertical angles, I don't know why, I mean,
What the fuck?
if you have, like, just look at that.
That's even, bro.
Doesn't two angles look like they're the same?
Yeah.
You don't need to know the definition. You just need to know the measure of that is the same as measure of that. I don't care if you know it's a vertical
Right?
angle,
If
just know
one side
that.
was 5, the other one's 5.
So if the measure of that is the same as that, that's all you need to know. That's it. But for some reason, you guys will forget it when you get a problem.
True.
Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this.
Add some numbers to it.
I'm about to. I'm gonna do this.
Watch how I point.
Let's say this is X plus 5 and this is 3X, subtract
Oh, you just said with me, man.
12. And you're gonna be like, what in the world? Oh my God, there's no way those are good. Let me ask you this.
That's not
You have $4 or $5 bills. He has a 20. You have the same?
Broke.
Yes. Does it look the same?
No.
You're the same. Whoa, it doesn't look the same. Is it the same? Make up your mind.
It's the same.
That's the same. It doesn't matter how I show it.
Bro, just look at the line, bro.
Like,
They're
you just saying,
even.
So
They just got the same numbers.
if they are the same, that means you would solve it by doing this. They are the same, which means that
Bro,
that has to
literally,
equal
bro,
that.
That's the easiest shit on the planet.
Now, I will say on the quiz, a bunch of you did this for every problem. You just kept setting everything equal.
Bro,
They're not always equal.
if you got a 10 and a 10, what the heck?
Sometimes we use the little plus little is
If I
big.
give a 10 and a 10, right?
And there were a bunch of people that always just set everything
Answer the
equal.
question.
So you gotta understand when you can do it, when you can't.
If I-
This is the other one. Actually, this is the problem. I'm pretty much giving you a problem, some quiz that everybody wants.
Alright,
Then I said that.
Straight on my arm.
Nobody knew how to solve, well, virtually nobody knew how to solve for a while.
You know.
What do you mean?
I'm gonna very quickly tell you the process. I'm not gonna do it. Once you solve for X, like that'll let you solve for X, because we know those two are equal. Once you solve for X, you can plug it back in and figure out what this angle is. What is true about these two angles?
Wait, I can't see.
They're not equal. First of all, they don't look
They're on
anything
the
like
same
that.
line.
So what does that mean? So this is the answer to the quiz, by the way.
Little bit.
Almost everybody knows. So what's the big?
The Y.
No, it's little plus little is big. So again, this is gonna be little plus little is big.
Because it's on the same line.
because they're on the same line, so the little plus the little, but what's the big then if they're on the same line? What do we say? The big is 180. So we would solve for x. Once we solve for x, we just plug it in and we'd figure this angle out. X plus 5 is that angle, and we'd subtract that from 180. That was how you're
Bed
figuring
right
it
now, don't you?
Almost nobody had that. Hey.
I can
Back to look.
Sir.
What are you doing? Assessing?
No, Gill.
So that was from the last quiz. That was the problem right there. Pretty much. I mean, different numbers, except y was even the same
It's on
thing.
the same
Right.
line, idiot.
So here's what we got to wrap up from the angles.
Wrap it up for us, coach.
You just need to understand what perpendicular lines are.
What the, what?
What
Perpendicular.
are perpendicular lines? You should, I mean,
Oh,
Lines that intersect.
elevators. Well, not just
I don't do
intersect.
definitions.
They intersect and form.
I'm just letting you know.
Well, they are congruent, actually. They do
I'm
want to
90
be
degree.
congruent.
No,
90-degree angles.
sounds right.
So that's the same thing. At 90 degrees, right? So lines that are perpendicular mean we have 4 right angles. All of those angles are 90 degrees, every one of them.
Right.
So that's one thing you need to understand.
Okay, I understand.
Perpendicular.
When you have a right angle and you divide it, it can be little plus little is big, because we know the big is
Right.
90. Right, the big is the right angle, it's 90. What else would we call? What would we
Oh, you're
call
going
it?
on. Bro, he just grabbed it. Like, look at him. He's
What?
scratching.
It's like the inner animal is coming out. What is true about angle 1 and angle 2?
And one, and two,
They don't equal. I didn't.
One
That's
is
what
bigger
you
than
can't
two.
say.
One is.
I
bigger.
didn't- I didn't tell you.
It both happen 90 degrees.
I didn't tell you it's a bisector.
Angle
If I said bisector, then they're equal. If I just say, okay, let me exaggerate
Angle
it.
one is bigger than two.
Let me exaggerate it. So I just drew in a line in a different place. Are they equal?
No.
But clearly they're not. So you cannot. So here's a lot of you make assumptions you can't make in figures. You cannot, just because I draw a line in, even if it's close to the middle, unless I tell you it is a bisector. The bisector is what splits it in half. I don't tell you that. Or the other way is I could do this.
Okay.
If I give you little markings that tell you the angles are equal, then you know they're equal. It's like, that's what those markings tell you. Same marking means they're the same measure. So somehow I gotta tell you they're equal. They are not equal up here. Clearly, they're not equal, but it won't always be that obvious. So now what is true about angle 1 and angle 2?
Angle two is bigger.
Or together, you could say.
They equal 90.
They add up
The
to
measurement of the angle.
90, right? So what do they call?
Wait,
What's that word we learned?
Complementary.
1 and 2.
I heard that.
Complementary.
So again, we know angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary because they're perpendicular lines. So because these are perpendicular, they form a right angle. Well, if we then split one of those angles, then they add up to 90, and that was the complementary definition. Two angles that add up to 90 are complementary.
So what are we gonna be testing? That?
I haven't made that up yet.
What?
You're gonna need to know complementary means 90.
I already know that.
Perpendicular lines form 90-degree angles, and then you need to know how to do the problems that we did the other day.
Where my cheat code at?
Cheese code?
Let's see.
I lost.
That's really
Right here.
it. Oh, no, one more thing. You're gonna get figures moving forward. This won't be on the quiz,
What the-
but
Oh,
it just means you need to be able to figure out what angles are equal, what angles add up to 180, what angles are not equal. You can't assume some angles are 90 or equal to each other.
We're getting into proofs now, or like the,
what are you talking about?
Not yet. No, Bruce is
Bro, which
not,
second?
not for
Oh, it already here.
at least a week, maybe more.
so I have time. I have.
Me that time.
All right, so here's your hints.
That look like a whole lot of BS.
Well, your host is blue.
Yeah. Oh, more.
All you testers, you're gonna have to go back and watch the video because you're still taking the quiz, so.
Fail.
What tester? What we testing on?
No, people that were in testing missed the whole lesson.
What y'all testing on?
It was the fast.
Give me the answer. How is that all?
Yeah, I'm going over stuff that is crucial to some people. You don't care. That's
I
fine.
care. What?
But again,
You care, but you playing.
I shouldn't have to, if you care, I shouldn't have to yell over. You gotta. And loud. It's not like clap. Right up front, you are loud as you can be. So I'm yelling. My throat hurts already from this one class. So if I see an X somewhere in a figure, that's what you're looking for vertical angles. So that's how you identify vertical angles. Draw an X. I would trace the X, preferably lightly so you can erase it because if the figure is complex. So this angle, same as that angle. And there's a bunch of them in here. That's not the only set of vertical angles. So I'm going to do a few others. So that's how you can identify vertical angles. Drawing an X. Or if they're asking you about specific angles, see if you can draw an X to see if they're vertical and therefore congruent, therefore equal.
Another one would be HCF.
Yeah, I'm going to draw in a few. So that's not the only one. So again, to name an angle, we would say HCD. The vertex has to be in the middle when we name it. And that one would be equal to what? I'm not going to call it.
Wait.
And then we're going to start with miles. What is that angle? I've already outlined them. So what angle is that equal?
Or no,
180.
180.
Oh,
No, okay.
okay. I can't keep it wrong. I better put you.
Oh. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
I'm sure. Isabella, what's that angle equal to? So this is the angle, it's equal to that, so I just need to name that angle. GCB works. I could have said ACG, like there's a bunch of ways to do it. You just need to make sure you know which one. GCB will work, and I guess I should do that. Make sure you know. All right, so that you're gonna get some pretty complex figures that you need to be able to determine whether or not angles are equal, mainly. So again, just look for another X. There's an X here. If I go all the way up to a different part of the figure, that means I've got vertical angles. I can do those. There's more X's around. There's a bunch of X's around here, so I think I just did which one? That.
Could it be, JEF, it is, yeah, GCH?
That would be one there. I could then erase that second line. I don't even know which ones I've already done, but and that would form it anytime you can find lines that cross. Now it's a little tricky because make sure you understand if I'm using these, and this is when kids get the most confused for sure. There's this line that goes through those two angles. You got to ignore that line like it's not there. That line is not part of my X. So the angles that are congruent are this big angle here and this big angle here. So you got to ignore that line going through and that line's not a bisector or anything going through. Doesn't tell us it's a bisector. You cannot assume that this angle is congruent to that or that this is congruent to that. Can't assume those things. You can only know that vertical angles are congruent. You cannot also assume, you can't say, oh, that's 90 degrees. I don't know that's 90 degrees. Doesn't tell me anything about, it doesn't say anything about perpendicular, doesn't have a right angle symbol.
That's
But it look like, it look like a line.
Oh, that's another one we need to talk about.
That is not.
What can I say about those two angles?
180.
They add up to 180, right? They're on the same line. I can assume that's a straight line normally, even if they don't tell me that it is. I could assume that's a straight line. So I could say that those two angles, so
What about
this angle here and this angle here,
What about
Well, that's
add up to
what
180.
about CH?
Well, it's really just this
What
plus
about
this.
CH Or 8, yeah.
See,
Would that be 180?
see, there.
No, that's not on a line. That doesn't form a line. The outside sides don't form a line.
Wait, so
Oh,
what about?
There is one in there, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, what about, yeah.
so that's what I'm about to go with.
ECF.
So here's one that kids get confused on in a future lesson. So I can spend a bunch of time on it right now. There's a straight line right here, right? That's a straight line. What's true about, and then some people just said this actually, those two angles. Gotta do something with you guys. I can't take it all you want, but it's always one of you. Always one of you. Like, that time it was Nazir, not a lot. But sometimes it's him. Sometimes it's you, more often it's him. Sometimes it's you too. So, and you're all just loud. Like, I can't do it, dude. I'm just telling you, at some point, you're gonna get split up. So if you want to stay there, you need to start being respectful when I'm teaching. Otherwise, I got plenty of open seats and we can split you guys up. That is not 180. They are both on the same line. Like, they are part of that line, but they're not the whole line, right? There's something else involved. There's this piece. Now I just drew a semicircle. So in this case, 3 angles add up to 180. This angle plus this angle plus this angle. So 3 of them have to add to 180.
So that would be ECH.
And you will get a problem on a future test. I'll give you 2 of the 3, and you have to know that you can add those together and subtract it from 180 to get the third.
HCD, and then it would be ECF.
Correct.
Wait, it'll be H.
So that's all I'm doing with angles.
She getting it.
Again, for angles, you're gonna have mainly just complementary, supplementary on this quiz, but you have some word problem stuff will be the main questions.
So that's fine.
And then I'll probably put a couple easy ones to help you if you can at least do something on the word problems and then get the easy ones right. You should at least pass. And then you'll also have this something with the distance formula.
Wait, so this one.
Yeah, perimeter, area.
Wait, okay, God.
Oh, so now you need to do,
We've been doing perimeter all day.
well, let's do area though. But areas is, again, I'm not spending a lot of time on area because what do you need for area?
Like, but
So you just need the length of the sides, right? What, the only thing you have to know how to do is solve for the length of the
is
side.
that for
Once I get this, if I were to change the problem, what was the 11.1? Is that what the?
Yeah, 11.1 and 4.4.
So once I have that, it doesn't really matter if I'm asking about perimeter or area. I've already done the work I need. If I now change the problem to area, you don't need to do any more math. You just, well, I mean, you do technically. You just say 11.1 times 4.4. That's the formula. So solving for the length of the sides is the hard part. And you got to do that whether it's perimeter or area. But you do need to know the formulas.
That's 48.84.
Wait, so the formula for that is just length times width. So,
For a rectangle.
so when you find the perimeter,
What would it be for a triangle? So now let's go back here.
A triangle, what do you
area of a triangle.
That's height.
So we did this one already. I want you to do the area. So the perimeter is just adding those together. Do the area of that.
Where do you at?
Individually.
No, what not?
I said what? I didn't say where.
Oh, well, if I wanted perimeter, 6 plus 9 plus 10.8. We've already solved the length of the sides, right? When we solved for that 10.8, that was the length of that side. The perimeter is just all the sides. Yeah.
10.8.
Yeah.
I did it.
So now do area. Now do the area though. You gotta do the area. Which you're probably gonna need.
The perimeter is 10.8, right? You take that.
The perimeter?
The perimeter is 10.8. Just then you gotta take the length and the height.
9 and 6.
Yeah,
I already added it.
you don't add it. You kind of.
He said, no, he said 5. Perimeter is 10.8.
Yeah, he said find area now, which is length times width. So the length is 9. It's,
He just said I was right.
What you- how you get to the
This year, you should have said this.
Yeah,
That's what
if it were this easy, you wouldn't even need.
That's why I just did.
Fine.
In my head, yes, 9, what's 9 plus 6? 15 plus 10, 25, 25, 30, I'm mad.
Well, but you need those.
I guess that's you. Let's ask him. I might be wrong. Do you
That's
have
what we have going.
Go ahead. What you get?
You have them?
No, in length times.
There's a this is the formula you do have to know. This is definitely not on the reference sheet.
For area, right?
The
For area.
area of a triangle
It's
is
like times
one, that's a rectangle.
Dummy.
Oh, yeah.
Triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, or you could say the base times the height.
But wait,
Height.
Based on the height.
You got to
What's
slow
the
that
base?
down
What's
so
the
I
base?
can write
What's the
it.
base?
I already wrote it somewhere.
Oh,
No.
six.
To the bottom.
What the fuck?
Uh,
I'm doing that. I ain't doing it.
That ABC should have doing that. Hey,
I'm really putting me in this.
so if you had one this easy that truly all they wanted was the area, you wouldn't even need to solve for the other side. The base and the height are already there. They're the
So you
ones.
just
So half of the base, half of the
And
base.
then,
So half of the base is 3.
Wait a minute. Is that for a triangle?
for a triangle, 1/2 the base, the length of the base times the length of the height.
So what half of the
Bro, what, bro?
He said half of the base.
Half of the base.
Half of that.
What do you mean
What's
half of that?
He's 3. Right? Half of
That's the base, the number, the length, the length. of the base.
What old that?
It's 3.
Wait.
Right?
And what that's that.
Oh, it's 27. Oh, yeah. I'm fucking there.
So I'm gonna tell you the other problems from this lesson.
Wait, say that again. Half?
I'll come back to you.
Half of the base.
Page 80, write this
I'm
down.
a-
Page 87.
Half of the-
We didn't get the circles, which we were supposed to do area and circumference, like perimeter. We didn't get to that. I may or may not come back to it.
Right there.
So on the quiz, I just won't put this.
Okay, that's 27.
So page 87, 1, 2, 5, and 6.
So I got page 87.
Should I?
No.
That is right there.
Oh, it's, there's some of the, yeah. Perimeter.
Yeah, we didn't get that.
Late,
Oh.
late. It's gonna happen. That happened.
I got shit locked in, twin.
No, now you confuse me.
That's what triangle, but the rectangle. Like,
Wait,
what is it gonna be a bird?
you know what I do? I passed that damn test.
Oh my God, you guys wear me in the hole.
Ow, I said 2 words.
All day?
No, I'm talking about just right now.
No, I'm just saying in general, for day. I'm worn
I
out.
said it good.
Are you in your, this is your favorite class?
Okay.
What page?
I'd say it's 25.
What you mean 5?
I'm under 5 on these. It's
I don't think it's that crazy, was it? I'll be honest, I don't remember it off the top of my head. I don't remember it being, when I looked at it, I don't remember it being.
So you can give it question.
So you telling
Is
me
it just like tilted or something?
What in your problem, too?
but this is number 5 and it's easy.
No, there's actually a shortcut to that one. I'm not gonna do it.
Bro, that's the thing. I'd rather you just tell me there's no shortcut.
It's not in focus, but
That's the favorite.
let me just repeat one. So that is from this lesson, from your last lesson. Some of these are definitely more important than others, what I'm about to write up. 17 through 19. So I think number 6, for example, is not very important out of all of those. It's
Okay, so I'm
totally different, but
I just want to make sure I got the concept. For number 1,
Yep.
it's a triangle, but we have to find the perimeter. So
That's what it
we're gonna
is.
use that method.
You don't gotta use that method.
Yeah, for perimeter, you would, because you need to know the length of all of the
So it
sides.
would be this one and that
Now,
one.
2 of those sides are easy though, right?
Yeah.
You know the length of 2, so you just have to figure out the length of the third one,
American, right?
and that's the distance between.
So basically, all we're doing.
That length and that.
So we're doing this one, and that one.
Oh, not very good.
We have to do these two first, then these two, right?
No, you know the length of that side of it. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, because they have it on both sides.
You just
Okay.
count.
So which is this one?
You count the squares.
Okay.
So you just need to say, what is the distance from that point to that point?
But you
Which is that point.
can't do it because it's not
You have a phone.
up in.
What, are you asking me?
Yeah.
You're saying.
No, can you have?
Oh, yeah. So you're just, what is, when I say what's the length of a side and it's on a graph,
I don't know.
it's distance. What is?
So the reason,
Okay,
so the
two.
So the reason why we're using that method, because you can't count it.
Yes, exactly. We can, if it's a diagonal
But you
line,
don't have to do it with these two because you can count it.
straight up and down, straight left and right, you just count. I mean, now you could do that formula, that formula will still work, just we don't need. it. You don't care about it.
Versus Ukrainian.
I think.
Two good fucks. Do you want that cross, you cross the foot?
It's like.
How you go just to Russia and Ukrainian?
You said like.
Yeah.
So A, what is A?
They go family fighting each
What
other.
did you say A is?
That's what they are.
So 8 squared plus what?
8 squared
With HE.
is.
No.
8 times 8 is.
No, no, just tell me it's a number, so 8, what that equals. 8 squared equals.
Whatever.
I just know a
There's
nigga.
already known 5 squared.
Boy, that
So
boy,
you
they
have
have.
to do the math and figure out what's known. I haven't posted it yet, so I don't, there's no name of it, but.
Because they're coming my boat, right?
Hold on, let me see. I don't know if I'm still, I think oh yeah, I'm recording this class. I want, so yeah, so I recorded that class. You guys go back and listen to it and watch how much they were talking.
Italian too. Well, it's over.
So I've actually recorded 2